Welcome to the Statesboro Herald's 2014 Pigskin Pick'em, brought to you by Seasons of Japan Restaurant and Dr. Troy M. Lawhorn at Statesboro Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery and Dental Implant Center.
And welcome to week 4 of Pigskin Pick'em. I'm your host Josh Aubrey, being joined by the Statesboro Herald's Matt Yogus, Mike Anthony, and Eddie Ledbetter. Let's give a quick rundown of how we're doing up until this point. We had Mike with a big lead. It's been cut a little bit. 15-9 for Josh, 15-9 for Eddie. Mike leading the way, 16-8, and Yogus trailing at 13-11. You're still over 500, so if you're betting with Vegas, Matt Yogus is making you money. All right, let's kick things off. We only have 3 high school games this week. We have 5 of the other picks. Let's begin with the Georgia Southern Eagles coming off another heartbreaking loss, but yet a great effort against Georgia Tech this week. They open up Sun Belt play, historic game in Mobile, 2.5-point underdogs. This one, like many others that Georgia Southern's had, the line has come down. Your thoughts on this one there, Matt Yogus?
If there's one thing we've learned from the history of college football, it's that Las Vegas cannot figure out Georgia Southern. It doesn't make any sense to me. South Alabama scored 3 points against Mississippi State. Georgia Southern's defense, I think, is terribly underrated. You know, they had a really bad first half against Georgia Tech, but aside from that, they looked great. I think Georgia Southern wins this one, probably by more than a touchdown. I'm taking the Eagles.
Mike.
Did we say it's been about a decade since you would have lost money on a line involving Georgia Southern? I don't know if they're just waiting for conference play to start or what, but these guys picking the lines, they must not be watching these games. They have 2 ACC opponents on the ropes. Meanwhile, South Alabama at home can barely move the chains against probably the 3rd or 4th worst team in the SEC. If they don't have a better offensive effort than that, Georgia Southern's going to dominate this one. I like the Eagles.
Eddie.
I'll take the Eagles to cover this one.
All right, I'm going to go. This has always been a dangerous thing for us, for everybody to go with the same team, but you got to go with Georgia Southern, just the way they played against South Alabama. So everybody going with the Eagles in this one. All right. Speaking of the Sun Belt, hey, App State, another one of the Sun Belt members this week. They're coming off a bye week. They're going up against Southern Miss, who just got trounced by Alabama. I don't know what you can learn about them from that. App State, a 2.5-point underdogs against Southern Miss. Matt Yogus.
2.5 points on the road tells me they like App State in this game. They're favored. It's almost a pick 'em. Now, with that said, App's coming off 2 straight bye weeks. No offense to Nate, but the Campbell Camels didn't necessarily stand a chance against Appalachian State. I wouldn't call that a tough weekend on the football field. So App State, all we know about them really is that they got blown out of the water by Michigan. You know, they're looking to bounce back. I think they come out sluggish. I think Southern Miss didn't play too awful in the first half against Alabama, so I will take Southern Miss.
Mike.
Yeah, Southern Miss, as bad as they were last season, they get that win at the very end, kind of get things moving in the right direction. App State, a lot of strife, inner turmoil from what I hear. I don't know how good of a team they are. They still haven't proven it on the FBS level. For the first time since 2010, a Monken takes down App State. Todd Monken and Southern Miss get it done. They will cover the 2.5.
Good point there. All right. Eddie, your thoughts?
I think this is the week that App State wakes up, and I'm going to pick App State.
All right. I'm glad you did it, because I was afraid if we were going to go for a second round of everybody picking the same one.
If we all pick the same for the rest of the year, I win. So
Mike wins. Got to play a little defense here.
I do not agree to that.
I'm going with Southern Miss as well. I think we have yet to see what App State's made of. Southern Miss playing Alabama, this should be a lot easier challenge for them. I'm going Southern Miss. So we got everybody with Southern Miss except for Eddie. Eddie's going with App. All right, next up, the Georgia Bulldogs coming off a heartbreaking, I think it was about that far from being not a first down.
Divide that by 10, and that's about how they were.
That's right.
Also the length of the missed kick, too.
That's right, man. They had a couple things go against Georgia this week. They're playing Troy. Troy just got beat by Abilene Christian, who Georgia State beat. 41 is what the point spread says. What's your thoughts on this one there, Matt Yogus?
Well, Abilene Christian is the middle of the pack Sun Belt team, right? 21.
Yeah.
I've been doing these picking things for a long time. I've never picked Georgia to cover any spread ever in the history of doing this.
Oh, no.
It's very scary not to pick Georgia in this one, but here's my reasoning for it.
Oh, here we go.
Gurley pumps up his Heisman stats. He gets 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, whatever. Georgia runs away with it, but they beat Troy so bad in the first half that you got to put the backups in. Troy scores 21 points late in the ballgame. Georgia wins 60-21.
That was your reason for the Savannah State Georgia Southern game too. That didn't work out so well for you.
This is a little bit different. This is a little bit different.
You think so?
I think Savannah State might beat Troy.
Mike.
Ooh, man, that's a blow.
I'm just kidding, Troy.
Well, Georgia, I think that if they had beaten South Carolina, you'd be looking at a very different scenario. They might be inclined to take the week off, to let some of the backups play. They had proved everything they would have to prove. After that heartbreaker, you know they're going to be fired up. As you say, Gurley's going to pump up some of those stats. Kind of the same as my pick with Georgia Southern and the Savannah State game. Even if they try to let off the gas, I don't know if Troy is going to be able to stop them, even the third stringers. So these are the kind of games where I wish I was in Vegas, because you would have a 48-point game and Troy's on the goal line in the last minute and everybody's watching that game. But I think Georgia gets it done. This smells like a 50-point win.
All right, Eddie.
This looks like a sucker bet to me, and I am a sucker, Georgia.
All right. I'm glad that Matt Youngis took Troy for no other reason. Once again, we don't have to worry about everybody taking the same team. I'm going with Georgia. I think they're going to pound Troy. I think they're wanting to try to move up, and the only way you're going to move up in the standings is if, unfortunately, you put it on people. So I'm taking Georgia. Youngis, the lone Troy, and I sure hope people understand we are picking against the spread.
Public service announcement, I said Georgia was going to score 60 points in this game.
Yes. All right, moving on. We got this Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets after squeaking out the victory against Georgia Southern. Who knows what would have happened if the Eagles would have held on to win this one. This week, they're going to be taking on Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech coming off a big win. Matt, your thoughts on this one? Tech getting 8 points.
Tech coming off a big win and a big loss. They're going to be angry coming into this one. Georgia Tech, on the other hand, I understand Georgia Tech might be a little bit susceptible to the big play. Virginia Tech coming in angry. I think Virginia Tech covers this one.
Mike.
Yeah, Paul Johnson gets a lot of flack for not being able to beat Georgia, but the one thing he does do against Georgia is put up points. Against Virginia Tech, on the other hand, the Hokies seem to have the Jackets number. They never do much with the offense. I don't think this year is any different. Virginia Tech, they're going to be angry after that loss against ECU. They're going to take it out on the Yellow Jackets. Hokies cover this one.
Eddie.
I think the Yellow Jackets are going to be mad about that win over Georgia Southern. I'll pick Georgia Tech in this.
All right, I think Georgia Tech goes down. Their first loss of the season. Here, I like Virginia Tech. They've been up and down. This should be the uptrend if they keep doing the way things are going. So we've got Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, and Virginia Tech. All right, once again, Eddie taking Georgia Tech. Everybody else going with Vive Tech. All right, Josh picked this week. We got Florida State and Clemson. Hard to believe that the spread is 22 points. Jameis Winston shooting off his mouth this week before a crowd. We're not going to get into what he said. Obviously, this is a family show, but it could get him in trouble. It sounds like they're debating how much he's going to play. I don't think they're going to sit him. I'll be surprised against Clemson. 22 points, though. Seems like a lot. Your thoughts, Matt?
Todd Gurley kind of obviously had his way against Clemson a little bit early in the season. I think Jameis Winston, certainly in the conversation, is one of the best players in the country along with Gurley. I think you're right. I think he plays. It's an interesting game, but with the turmoil, I'm going to say Clemson gives them a little bit more of a fight, and all that's a lie. Jim will fire me if I don't pick Clemson, so I'll pick Clemson.
Clemson, Mike.
Well, I'm sure that Florida State has another cupcake opponent somewhere down the road. That's when Jameis Winston's going to have to sit. But you don't want to punish the team in what's basically the division championship game in late September. I don't see any other team in the division that can challenge either of these teams. Clemson riled up about last year. Florida State's offense hasn't looked great yet. I'm going to take the Tigers.
All right, we got 2 Tigers.
Too many points for me. I'll have to take Clemson also.
Doggone it, guys. You're going to make me have to go outside and take who I wasn't going to take. I'm going to go ahead and take Florida State. This looks like a run-to-the-smell line. And at 22 seems like way too much, especially with what's going on. So that's why I'm going Florida State. Everybody else, Going Clemson. Forgive me, Jim.
If they wake up, it'll be another 30-point game like last year. They just haven't woken up yet.
All right, we're getting into the high school portal off this week. Let's go with the Statesboro Blue Devils. They've had 2 bye weeks already. They're 0-2. Very rare for the Blue Devils to be at this point in the season with this kind of a record. Matt, they're getting 6 points according to Mike Anthony for some reason at South Effingham. South Effingham 1-2. Your thoughts?
Mike Vegas sets these lines.
Yes, he does.
Boy, Statesboro, you got to think they've had a lot of time to regroup after the first game. They had a lot of time to regroup after the second game. They're going to start figuring things out. They're going to play good defense. I think we know that. Offensively, you just got to find a recipe that works. I think they take another step forward. South Effingham plays good defense. Statesboro plays good defense. I think Statesboro covers the spread, if not wins the game.
Mike.
Well, if Statesboro is watching this, you can look at that +6 and take it as a challenge because right now it's the offense that isn't quite getting it done. They scored against Wayne County, but a lot of that coming after the game was decided. If they can find a way to move the ball and score points, they'll beat South Effingham. They've done it all 8 times they've played in the school's history, but until they prove that they can score points, they're going to continue to face lines like that. I think they do find a way to get it done. I'm going to take the Devils.
All right, Eddie.
I think eventually Statesboro is going to find themselves this season, but I don't think it'll be this week. I'm going with South Effingham.
South Effingham. All right. Well, thanks again. We're going to get to go with Statesboro High. I think Statesboro should be favored in this game until South Effingham's proven they can beat them. I'm going with the Blue Devils. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, something like the Effingham game from last week, 14-7. So we got 3 Statesboro and Eddie going with South. All right, Southeast Bullock. And this is South Effingham. Southeast Bullock getting 14 against Dodge County. Southeast has not won a game this year. Tough loss this past week at Bryan County, 10-7. Matt Yogas, your thoughts on the Yellow Jackets, their first home game of the season, getting 14 against Dodge.
Southeast Bullock, I remember when they had the longest losing streak in the state. They came out of it with a win over Dodge on the road. So I'm liking this game. I think Pat Collins knows what he wants to do on offense. That offense is all about execution. They've got players who are capable of doing it. I think they get it together this week, and I think they put up some points against Dodge and easily cover the 14. I'll even take them to win.
All right, Mike.
Didn't they get about 6 fumbles or something in that Dodge game from way back when?
Irrelevant.
It was a lot, but as you said, SEB, they do have the right system in place. They've proven that they can win with it. They did it last year. Another good sign last week, Chase Walker joining Mike Davis as a great offensive threat. Both of them running the backfield might give Dodge problems, but they're still not going to score a ton of points, at least not yet. Dodge has proven that they can. They're averaging about 36 a game. I think it's just too much. SEB doesn't deserve to be an 0-14, but I think that's what they're going to be by the end of Friday. Dodge is going to run away with this one.
Eddie.
I'll have to go with Dodge County on this one also.
All right, I'm going to go with Mike. Matt Yogas, rather. I think Southeast at least keeps it close. So you thought they're going to win. I don't know that they'll win the game, but I'm thinking they're going to get it within 14. I'm going to go with Southeast Bullock, so it's going to be me and Yogas with SEB, and Mike and Eddie with Dodge County. All right, Bullock Academy wrapping things up. They're at home. They're playing the second of 3 state champions from a year ago. This week they have Memorial at Gator Alley. Matt Yogas. Right now we got the line at BA giving Memorial 4 points.
I want to hear what Mike Anthony has to say about this one before I say
You want me to
it.
pick this one first?
Mike Anthony, you go first.
Well, you remember I said it was kind of a challenge to Statesboro to be facing that underdog role. This is a challenge to Bullock Academy to keep it up. They've proven that their offense is back. That's what put them in a tailspin last year. They couldn't score points. This year, they're putting up a ton of points. That offense is really working well. Lanier Olive has the option working. He's making all the right reads. The defense is playing, I think, a little bit better than everybody expected. So, yeah, that's a big challenge to go out and be favored against a state champion. But if they continue to put up points, I think they got what it takes. I'm taking BA.
All right.
If we're playing buy or sell, I'm sold. I'll take them too.
All right, 2 Gators. How about you, Eddie?
I'll go with the Gators.
All right.
I'm a motivational speaker, if nothing
I
else.
said I wasn't going to pick against our high school teams, but I just think 4 points seems like a little much. I'm going to go ahead and go with Memorial to maybe keep it within 4. Maybe they only lose by 2. So I got Memorial and everybody else going with the Gators. Again, we are picking against the spreads, not necessarily picking the team to win the game. So that'll wrap things up for this week's Pigskin Pick'em. For Matt Yokas, Mike Anthony, and Eddie Ledbetter, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.